Imagine a day as vivid as any other. The date is July 8, 1890, and with the birth of a child named George Sell, the world unknowingly welcomes a future animation pioneer. George's life, however, begins with a tragedy. His mother, tragically, leaves this world shortly after giving him life. His father, Thomas, and his grand-aunt Helen become his pillars of support. As George grows, he forms a close-knit circle of friends: Walter, Frank, Robert, and Franklin. In a turn of fate, on July 25, 1898, a girl named Abby Bread hugs George, causing a stir among his friends. Franklin and Robert discover this secret interaction, and it sparks a meeting on July 26, 1898. This meeting would solidify the bond of friendship between Abby and George, a bond that 9 out of the 11 present would agree upon. The years roll by, marred by the shadow of the Great War from 1914 to 1918. On October 29, 1917, George Sell, Walter, Frank, John Thomas, Robert, Albert, and Franklin face the cruel reality of war. An encounter with Otto von Ludwig results in the loss of John, Thomas, Robert, Albert, and Franklin. Yet a year later, on November 10th, George and Walter managed to avenge their fallen friends by eliminating Ludwig. In the aftermath, George and Walter decide to turn their shared tragedy into a creative outlet. On May 8, 1920, they established the GW Studio. Their first animation, Blue Jazz, sees the light of day on July 7, 1923. George and Walter, along with Henry Peterson, hire talented creators like Tom Hatt, Tommy Lucas, and Charles Hunter to bring their vision to life. The animation is published in the United Kingdom and receives a warm response. In 1924, George marries his childhood friend Abby. However, their joy is short-lived as several workers go missing from the studio. Unfazed, George hires new talent, and by December 28, 1925, they release Piano West, another animation. George, Walter, and their new recruit James William bask in the success of their creation. Unfortunately, the GW Studio closes its doors in 1929. George moves to Canada and establishes the George Sell Studio on July 8, 1932. He spends his last years there, living in peace until his death from a heart attack on August 8, 1950. A month later, Abby, his lifelong companion, succumbs to cancer. In a final act of friendship, Robert Sell sells the George Sell Studio to Walter for $50,000. George's legacy, his studio, his creations live on while he rests eternally at peace in his final resting place. And so the tale of George Sell comes to a close. His life, marked by love, loss, war, and creativity, leaves an indelible mark on the world of animation. His pioneering work in the early 20th century laid the groundwork for future animators and continues to inspire creators to this day. Through the highs and lows, George Sell's story reminds us of the enduring power of friendship and the transformative magic of creativity.